Well, hello there. My name is Dr. Sally Cathcart and I'm one of the directors of the Curious Piano Teachers. And I'm here to share with you my enthusiasm for the ABRSM Music Medals. Now, some of you might be familiar with these already, but I know that with all the talk on new syllabuses coming out recently, I wanted to focus back on music medals, which have been around now for a couple of years. I worked with ABRSM as part of the team that helped put these together, to choose the repertoire, to actually design some of the musicianship tests as well. And I think they fill a really, really good place in our piano teaching toolkit. And I'm here to tell you why and how I think that is the case. But first of all, I want to just define what I think is probably a bit of a problem for us, and that is the fact that it's a long way from starting the piano to reaching initial and even more so to grade one. Grade one is right the way up there and requires quite a few skills, and it takes time to get there, and it can be hard for a young student and indeed their parents to really understand the time that and the skills that are needed to reach a certain level of playing, say for example the initial. And what can happen in that time is that learning can get stuck, can't it? There can be a loss of joy, and then maybe when the exams are finally introduced, things take a long time to learn three pieces and all the requirements of scales and things. And so I think the music medals come in because they are very flexible and they are teacher-led mini milestones really, to help the student and their parent to really see that progress is happening, and as they move from one level of medal to another, they can actually start to hear the progress that's happening. So the music medals are teacher-led assessments for both younger learners, but also for adult learners as well, so for anybody who is in the early stage of learning. And they're available only in the UK, and they are designed as a pathway that goes from pre-initial all the way through to around level 4, grade 4 I should say, grade 4. And they cover 5 progressive levels, which are copper, bronze, silver, gold and platinum, okay? And these roughly overlap with the grade system as well. So you can see from my little chart that copper is below initial, and then bronze is just creeping up, I think, to initial and maybe to grade 1, and then silver spans grade 1 to 2, and gold from grades 2 to 3, and then platinum from grade 3 to 4. And this is where it's really important for us as teachers to educate our parents and ourselves that there isn't a grade 1. You know, there are some pieces that are absolutely spot on grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, but actually most pieces have some skills that are challenging and some skills required that are easier than the grade. So we have to work in this slightly broader field really. And I think what the music medals helps us to do is to show that these are the stepping stones that will help us go up the progressive ladder of skill development, which is what we're talking about here. So there are 3 components involved when we are assessing the music medal, and these are all things anyhow that we would have in our lessons. There's first of all an ensemble piece, so the pupil plays an ensemble, and that's usually a duet, but it could be a trio. I'll tell you more about those later. Or it could even be, there is one example of a piano trio, a pianist with a violinist and a cellist, right, of course, at the platinum level. So there's ensemble, playing with others. There's also a solo piece, and the repertoire list with the solo pieces, they all come from well-known books, tutor books that you're using, or repertoire books. I'll give you a little overview in a bit. And then, and this is really, really key for us teachers, there are the musicianship options. And you and the student choose one to do in the actual music medal. This is call and response can be the choice, or make a tune, which is sort of like so the call and response is the student echoes back. The make a tune is where they improvise a small tune around a given set of elements. A question and answer, so there is a question phrase and the student has to answer it, or there is the more traditional sight reading. And those all come in a Music Medals piano options practice book, all the way from the bronze, or from the copper, all the way up to platinum. And this book is a really good addition to your teaching toolkit anyhow. And what I like to do is I like to actually get students to do all the options in here, and then close to the actual medal day we will focus on which one to do. Or maybe you could say, all right, so for the first one, for the copper, we'll do call and response, and the second one we'll do for bronze, we'll do make a tune, question and answer maybe for silver, and then come to the sight reading. Yeah, step out of our comfort zones a little bit, do it a bit different. Now, in terms of the marking, there are outcome categories, and students have to obviously get a pass in the ensemble, and also in either the solo or the musicianship test to get a pass. To get excellent, which is the other category, you have to get excellent in all three tests. Or maybe they get working towards. Yeah, so it's working towards, pass, or excellent are the three categories that they need to work towards. So this is, as I say already, very much something that we will do in our lessons. We should be doing ensemble duets with them, and often in tutor books pieces we'll have duet parts with them, won't they? And we'll play with them. Nothing different about that. Solo, just good for them to take a piece and really work it up a little bit more than they would normally. And then the musicianship, getting the listening going, so vital. If we don't get those listening skills, no musical outcome is going to be evident, really. So just let's go on and have a look at your role. So this is for what you have to do as the teacher assessor. Now you will need to register with ABRSM in the Teachers Hub as a teacher assessor, and that will involve going through some training, which is all provided completely free of charge by ABRSM once you have registered for it. Obviously, you need to go through the repertoire lists, and you need to choose then the pieces from there. And the pieces you choose can also be from the grades that the syllabus, the current syllabus, that is applicable at that particular level. On the day, you're going to lead the assessment, you're going to manage the ensemble play, you're going to make sure that your student is really comfortable, and you're going to video it. Okay, you're going to video it according to ABRSM guidelines. You're going to mark it, and there's a pro forma all provided by ABRSM, and you get training at this through the once you've registered, and then you submit the video through the ABRSM portal to them, and then they will moderate it. So you actually mark it. Yeah, you have the pro forma, you've got the video, obviously you can listen back to it, and you mark it, and then you submit it. ABRSM then moderates it. And then your student both gets a certificate, all part of the cost, which is really very cheap, I think. So they get a certificate and they get a lovely music medal. And of course, music medals, or medals, are something that children collect on their uniform sometimes, like they're badges of honour, aren't they? So they get a music medal, can be presented, of course, in assembly and stuff like that. So these are all really lovely bits of motivation that will help our student. So it's so useful, I think, though, for us as teachers to be an assessor and to stand back from the teaching role, where we're always trying to give advice and guide and encourage and motivate. And now we have to observe, we have to listen, and we have to do some formative assessment. really, really very good for us, I think. And it's something that I always value doing when I'm giving mock exams to my students. And I always will move, I was doing one yesterday, I always go somewhere different in the room to make myself feel different, and I act in a different way. I'm doing much more of a global assessment about the musical outcome. That's what it's all about. Okay, so the medals really do help our students to become more motivated, to be more confident, and it really helps to promote their sense of well-being, I think. And they provide, if you can sequence them in, they provide these lovely, frequent and really, really tangible stopping points or yeah, stopping points just to work towards and then move on and acknowledge the progress they're making. Because the assessment will happen in a comfortable environment, the pupil will be used to the piano, won't they? And you'll be handling it as a known adult, so performance anxiety is going to be less. It's still going to be there, so you've still got to manage the situation, do a few practice ones in advance, but it will be a more relaxed environment for that first outing like this than actually going into an exam room. So, I think the biggest benefits, as far as I'm concerned, really, is about how it helps to integrate the learning into what's going on without stopping progress. Because at these lower levels, really, the learning should be with an emphasis on building their skills. The pianist skills, technique, musical skills, their reading skills, their pianistic skills, so many different skills that are needed to play the piano. And this will help them to do that in an ever-expanding spiral of learning. Yeah? So it's ever deepening. That's what we want. We want to constantly revisit the same thing in various pieces, in new situations, okay? Rather than sticking just on 2 or 3 pieces and they stick with them for 6 months. There is learning there, absolutely, but it's not enough of a learning progression for them to really become confident at the particular skills that they're developing. Can they take that particular rhythm, whether it's a dotted, crotchet and quaver that they've been practicing, that piece, do they still get it right when they do the sight reading or when they do a new piece? Often they don't. Often that transfer of learning doesn't happen. And that's because they need new pieces frequently, always just slightly pushing them on out of their comfort zone, but not too far. And that's what I really love the music medals for, I really must say. And with that in mind, I want to think about how it reduces the pressure, really, on you, the teacher, and it helps those parents to see this really, really steady sequence of achievements, which can help them to feel less anxious about, oh, when will they do grade 1? Yeah? And instead, you'll be able to focus on steady musical growth with your parents. So this is all about the student, as I say, developing musicians, you developing them as musicians. And you do that also through your choice of repertoire. Now, I've already mentioned the options practice book, but I also want to just point you towards the syllabus repertoire lists. And I had a hand in putting these together as well. Of course, you know, it's quite a small list. We have so much music at the piano. It's not exhaustive by any means. However, there are ensemble pieces and solo pieces all the way through from copper all the way up to the platinum level, all in this repertoire list, which you can download from the ABRSM website, and I'll put the link to that in the comments below or in the space below. So do look at that, and you'll find in there all sorts of music. Hopefully some music that you're familiar with, but hopefully some music that you might think, oh, that's interesting, that's curious, I'll go and look that up. I played at the very beginning, if you think back to the beginning, I was playing a folk song called Bobby Shafter, and that was from Piano Star 1, and you do get quite a few pieces from the Piano Star books. I'm just going down here to pick up some other music. There's music from the Piano Time series, and I know a lot, this is a very popular series, there is music in that, not just in the books themselves, but there's Piano Time Jazz in there, pieces from that, pieces from Piano Time Dance. I have to say that all the pieces, as much as possible, have been selected to motivate and inspire the students. And that absolutely is the key. Absolutely the key at this level. We want them to run through the door going, oh, I just need to go and play this piece again, because it's been going around in their head while they're there at school. Hook them into the music at this stage, and they will learn to overcome difficulties, and they will build a sense of resilience, which is so important for when the music gets harder and more challenging. Okay, so you'll find that you get fewer dropouts when it gets to about grade 2 or grade 3. Anyhow, back to this, Piano Time, lots and lots of pieces from that series. You'll also find down here pieces from Piano Safari. Yeah, I'll come back to that in a minute. Piano Safari, you've got the 70 Keyboard Adventures from The Little Monster. I love this book, love all the creativity in it if you haven't ever seen it before. Yeah, there you go. Who's not going to be inspired by that? Well, I certainly am. Then, as you go up the levels a little bit, you've got things like June Armstrong's Toy Box. Really recommend you explore June Armstrong's music if you haven't done already. Look in the repertoire lists, it's in there, some of my favourites anyhow. And yes, then she's got one in this book, The Stars, but this is more at platinum level. So you also then start to introduce things like Encore and also the Foundation Pianist. But you go and have a look, you will probably find your favourite tutor in there. There's Bastian, there's Alfred, there's Piano Safari, there's John Thompson, yeah, there's the inspiring pieces are in there. And the same goes for the ensemble pieces as well. I've got these all the wrong way around, so let's just start here. So we got, again, Piano Star with some ensemble pieces in there. Piano Safari, you'll find lots and lots of ways into Piano Safari. These are some of the pattern pieces. So, for example, I Like Coffee, those of you that use Piano Safari, that's there at the copper level. You've also got more from Piano Time. Oh, this is the Oxford Piano Method. This is Duets with a Difference, by Pauline Hall. Ah, yeah, good books, these ones. Piano Ensembles by Hal Leonard. 4 pianists at the piano. What fun can that be? Only one can have the assessment, however, but you have got 4 of them there. And then, as you go up into the higher levels, you have got, more Piano Safari. This time, this is the Scherzo and Trio. This is book 3. Yeah, you've got some of those, and I think there's Emperor Penguin March as well. Christopher Norton's in there with his microjazz. This is the ensemble piece, but there are others. And here we've got Enchanted Castle. This is trios. Try some trios if you haven't. Enchanted Castle. And then final one I'm going to show you, which is Martha Mayer's Agent 303, 003. Such a super, it's a bit of a take on 007. Just imagine that. 3 of them at the piano, and there are 2, I think part 2 is platinum and part 3 is gold. Yeah. As you can see, I get terribly excited about these because this is what brings music to life for our younger novice pianists. We want them to get excited. We want them to go, oh, I want to do this ensemble piece again. I want to play this piece again. Yeah, when can I do more? Let's switch them onto music at this stage, and then we've got them. We have got them. So, how are you going to get started? I hope I've inspired you to go and take a look if you haven't already. You've got the summer holidays coming up if you're watching this in the summer, go and check out the ABRSM Music Medals page. I've put the link below, and download the repertoire list, see what you use, highlight whatever, and think about choosing 1 or 2 pupils to actually get and pilot this with. Choose 1 or 2 nice willing pupils who you think will, take this on board. Go and do your training as an assessor, and then maybe in September you can actually work at these pupils, because of course you don't have to wait till November. You could just do it, go in September with your student, you choose the pieces that are best suited to their level, and just do it straight away, and before you know it, they've got their first music medal. And talk to your parents that you've got and explain, maybe even do a little sheet. If you'd like me to do an explanatory sheet for parents, do drop me a note below and I will see what we can turn up with here on Curious. So do go and explore music medals for the piano and see if that helps you to inspire and motivate your students. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.